Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
We've talked about the perils of using AI for things like homework or, court documents, and how people get in trouble because they get caught because the AI will do things like hallucinate and invent court cases that aren't real. And then attorneys will turn those pleadings in, not catching the fact that the AI that they asked to do the work for them hallucinated a bunch of non-existent court cases to support their position. And anytime that happens, it is 100% the fault of the attorney who did it. And attorneys are told, and you learn this in law school, that when you sign a pleading as an attorney, you're vouching for its contents. And if the contents include cases, you're vouching the accuracy of those cases as well as, obviously, that they exist. So from Denver7.com, and John sent me this. Thanks a lot, John. Colorado attorney fired for using AI is going to try to turn that into a positive, but he lost his job and he also got in trouble with the state bar. So the man lost his job in Colorado Springs for using AI to generate court documents. Now he's going to try to start his own law firm with AI as the primary legal assistant. So we'll see how that goes. But artificial intelligence, of course, is changing how we create, writes Clayton Sandell. Solve problems and how we work. But as more industries and professions make AI part of their workplace, technology comes with a reminder that it can't quite replace humans yet. So that's why this attorney in Colorado turns to AI for help. Last year, he was working for a civil litigation firm, but his caseload became overwhelming and he was stressed to the max, he said. That's a quote, stressed out to the max. And the legal profession is highly stressful because a lot is at stake on each of these cases. So he was working for a client who didn't have a lot of money, but he needed help with a contract dispute. And the man says, I had just been exposed to the idea of ChatGPT, and I'm trying to save him money, trying to not eat through his entire retainer. And it dawned on me, what if ChatGPT could do caseload research for me? So he tried it by typing in a prompt with details about his case. And boom, it's a quote, and boom, it generated seemingly impeccable case law and case citations. Yet it can do that when it makes them up. See, Johnson versus Smith is a case right on point where you win. And then, of course, Michigan versus Ohio is another case right on point where you win, okay? Brady versus Harbaugh, that's another case you can win. Wait, why do these cases sound weird? No, they're real. They're real. So what could have taken hours instead just took seconds, and he filed the documents with the court. And then he says, just before going in front of the judge, he realized that the AI was making stuff up. It had cited cases that do not exist. So then he panicked. He said, I wasn't trying to mislead the judge or the defense counsel or anything like that. It was simply a hallucination from the search engine that I relied too heavily on. The judge, however, was not happy. So he reported me to the bar, and I ended up getting a 3-month suspension from the practice of law. He also lost his job, and that, of course, is part of the cautionary tale as AI turns up in more and more workplaces. One recent UK study found that 10 to 30% of jobs could be automated by AI, most of them being white-collar professional occupations. But as AI helps automate tasks, analyze data, and boost productivity, it also has sparked debate about how and when the use of AI should be disclosed to, say, business clients. Sometimes the limitations of these tools are not even clear to the developer of the tools, says a policy researcher and expert at RAND. And I do think there's going to be a fair amount of burden on each of us to try to understand both how they work, but how they don't work. Despite AI letting him down, the attorney in the story is still a firm believer. He says he still loves being a lawyer and says he's turning what he calls a negative into a positive. He's now started his own law firm and says that AI is like a virtual legal assistant, helping cut costs and helping level the playing field. This technology can be leveraged for the benefit of people like my client, lower socioeconomic income populations who just can't afford legal services. These days, he's more careful to double-check the results, but he says that AI has already changed his workplace for the good. This technology, if leveraged rightly and well, can really mean the difference between injustice and justice for a lot of people. And so the weird part about this story, and we've heard a bunch of these stories now, where attorneys in a time crunch turned to ChatGPT and said, are there cases that support this position? Or even write me a brief that argues this. Use and give me case law on it. And it invents case law that goes its way, because that's obviously the easiest way. It's, if I get to frame the argument, I'm going to win. Well, if I get to invent my own case law, I'm going to win also. And so the sad part about this is, like I said, any attorney who signs a document, submits it to the court, knows that he's not just acknowledging that he read it, that he also stands behind it and vouch for its contents. And there are ethical rules that say specifically that attorneys are not allowed to, for instance, mislead the court on case law. And so you can't claim there's a case out there that says something it doesn't say. Likewise, you can't claim there's a case out there that doesn't exist. And that's like so absurd of an idea that I'm still shocked. I'm still shocked. Now people say, Steve, nothing should shock you now, but I'm still shocked that somebody would ask a chat device, in essence, a word generator, to write a brief and not double check the citations, because that is so easy to do. And I've had people call me up or send me a note or ask and go, Steve, I just heard about this case. I believe it's out of Wyoming. Here's the name of it, and I think it says this. And nowadays, you can Google the cases, and they pop up. So if these cases were real, you could Google them and double-check them. And it doesn't take a lot of work. So when somebody goes, I didn't have the time to double-check the work done by the ChatGPT, I think that's disingenuous. Because you can do this on your phone while you're sitting in the hallway at the court. Now, the question is, at what point do you realize that the cases are wrong, that they're not real? The second you do that, you are ethically bound to notify the court and your opponent. And failure to do that will get you in trouble. So believe it or not, turning in the poorly written brief with the fake cases in it, yeah, that's a problem. Not immediately narking yourself out is actually what got him in trouble. And so that is what you're supposed to do when you discover you've made a grievous mistake. And unfortunately, some attorneys think, well, I have to fight for my clients to the bitter end. We'll go down with the ship, but we'll fight to the end, right? When it's you in the hot seat and you know that you're wrong and you're under an ethical obligation to let the other side know and let the court know, you stop fighting and fess up and say, Your Honor, unfortunately, I was using a ChatGPT device to write this, and it appears to have included some cases I didn't get a chance to check. Now that I've checked them, I understand that they are not existent. They're not real. And so I've got to call it the court's attention. And I apologize, and I should have caught it sooner. But even at that point, you're going to get in trouble. But you're going to get in less trouble than if you try to cover it up and say, oh, I got a better excuse as to why I didn't catch that. Because we all know this now. This is something that's been in the news for a while. And one thing I don't understand, and I've had several people who disagree with me on this. I don't understand why you cannot prompt ChatGPT or another large language model AI thing to only use real cases. Why can't you? Are you telling me that it's already gone beyond our control? So why couldn't you say, please write me a brief using real cases that actually exist to support a position? And I've had people say, but Steve, the machine doesn't know what's real and what's not real. Well, it should be able to distinguish between things it found on the internet and things it just invented. It literally can't do that. But I digress, because I've never used ChatGPT. I've never used it. I've seen the results of people using it, and I've had people send me stuff that was created by it. But it seems to me that you should be able to tell it, by the way, can you write me a brief and use real case law? Because it should have all the real case law in its library of information, doesn't it? I don't know. So that's the question I have to ask. But here are the guys saying, look, I got in trouble. I screwed up. But I'm going to own it now to such an extent. I'm going to start a law firm using this. But hopefully he'll have learned a lesson about how it can be used and how it cannot be used. We'll see how it goes. But I give the guy credit. You get knocked down, get up again. So there you go. Clayton Sandell wrote this for Denver7.com. John sent it. Colorado attorney fired for using AI is turning that negative into a positive. Now he's going to use it, but let people know. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Don't start vast projects with half-vast ideas.